Om, respected Swami Advayananji, Shri Ved Chaitanya Gauri Mahavikarji, Dr. Ramesh Patni ji, Sunita ji, and all the organizing members. It's an honor to be here, back home. I call it because I remember 20 years ago, I had called up Advayananji and I said, I want to study Kautilya Arthashastra. He said, not Kautilya, Kautilya. Come here. Came all the way from Bombay. Said, I will make sure you study Arthashastra, but there is no course. And he appointed a research scholar, Dr. Gangadharan Nair, one teacher, one student. I went back with a certificate from SIF. That's how change happens. And I still remember my Bombay friends asked, where did you go? I said, I went to a modern Gurukul. That time CVV was not there. So I represent SIF also, CVV also, Chinmaya Shodha Sansthan also, and of course, Chinmaya Mission. So I would say that it's an honor to see what SIF IKS has done in my personal life. And I can very tell you the transformation that happened in this place. Many of you can feel it. I remember when we were checking into Shri. We were checking into Shri, and this time when we were welcomed, along with the key for the room, we were also given a Wi-Fi password. So it's truly a modern Gurukul. So all research scholars, please send your students here. A lot of work to be done in IKS. So with that, I like to start by looking at this topic for our panel discussion, which is society. Since yesterday, we have been seeing the contribution of Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda and Chinmaya Mission. But two words, starting with S, spirituality and society. Generally, if you look at it, after your social duties are done, you go to spirituality. In the life of Gurudev, we find reverse. He starts with Himalayas, and then he comes to the society. Everybody in the mission knows about the very famous example of Mother Ganga from Himalayas coming down to the plains. And all of us are in Kerala, the other end of the country, and many of us still go to Siddhabadi and Uttar Kashi. In this panel discussion, we have three scholars, three experts who have been working with the society, and we will try and see and explore how the mission for the society with the spiritual basis and background is different, and of course, transforming. So all three experts, Dr. Nagaraj, Megh sir, of course Priya, all of them have been coming with a lot of dimensions and thoughts. So with that, we will see that spirituality and society in application. Interestingly, the good part is that everybody has come with so much rich experience. So I'll start with Nagaraj ji. And the first question, if you look at, the social transformation, not just spiritual transformation, Gurudev actually conceptualized spirituality as a force for social transformation rather than individual transformation. Many times we think spirituality is about myself. No, it's about you, but also about society. So how do you see, Nagaraj, on that particular standpoint from social and individual transformation?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I think it's such a privilege to be back on this campus after several years of being away. I think the question that Radhakrishnan ji posed about the how did Swamiji conceptualized? I think at the short answer I will give you today is that you should have been here when Swaminiji Sampratishtananji spoke. she gave us such a eloquent 45 minutes answer to this question. How did he do it? He did it one by one person at a time. That I think is how he did it. Such a beautiful summary of Gurudev's work. I think I was talking to Vilasini ji, I think some of you might know about this panel opportunity, and she pointed out something. She said that even before Gurudev took sannyasa, he was already social reform minded. He was always, he saw things that were not right, at least from his point of view at that time, and he would do something about it. He became a journalist to actually to infuse change in the society. He had that in his mind already. And he later, when he became sannyasi, even as a journalist, he went to Shivananda Ashram to expose the fake sannyasi. So he had all those ideas in his mind. He wrote a column, I think, in a Quest, on a Quest movie. This was very beautifully brought out. He wrote a regular column, and that talked about people who are not doing well in the society. I mean, they were downtrodden, poor people. He wrote about them. So he was social reform-minded even before becoming sannyasi. But, once he became sannyasi, and then, he decided to, good fortune of ours, really, decided to come down and engage with the world, like you said. How did he do it? I think this was, she touched upon it, and Mahadevanji talked about it. I think Swami Advayananji talked about it. We all referred to the pledge. So I thought that we'll go to the pledge for a second. So I think Mahadevanji said, for example, the first part of this talks about spirituality, actually. And it is, right? You talk about it, the low tendencies and false values within and without us. That is about sadhana and purification of oneself. That is really spirituality. So the second half of it, if you look at the later part of it, is about action, right? It talks about, may thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. How is it going to flow through us? We have to do it. It's it's God's grace, but, He wants to give it to others through us. We shouldn't stop ourselves from doing good. I mean, so it is full of meaning. In fact, I was astounded to learn, I don't know, that apparently the story is that people who were involved in the organization, they came to Gurudev one day and said that, Swamiji, we need a pledge for a Chinmaya mission. And he just, nowhere, impromptu, he just dictated this word to word. And this is exactly what it is. It never really was edited. I think Swami Mitrananji told me this story actually when he visited SIF. So I get really, amazed how can somebody do this. So this is actually the connection in the spirituality in the front. So that is the first half of the question. Once you spiritualize yourself, how do you transform it, impart it to the society? That's what the second part says. So I highlighted the one connecting sentence. That is, to me, is the one that appeals to me most. It says, giving more than what we take. So it's a very easily said sentence. I have dwelled upon it for some time. It's not that easy to do. It's not that easy to do. You might say that, I'll become a Chinmaya Mission Balavihar teacher. That is just 2 hours a week commitment. Just 2 hours a week. Yeah, just 2 hours a week commitment. But, once you go there, there are 15 kids. They start worshipping you as a teacher. Whether you are deserving of it or not doesn't matter. Then, when you go to some party, somebody's house and your Balavihar student will come to you with some of our friends and then say, this is my Balavihar teacher, the excitement and so on. That is much more than the 2 hours you gave. You're getting it back in loads and loads and loads. And I think that it's simply not possible to do. And I think a lot of people have tried to give more than what they take. And that is what the result of this. This is the result of all of that. It is hundreds of people, thousands of people giving more than what we take. This is the social reform transformation that Guruji has imparted it through us. Right? This is basically a picture of subset of what Swaminiji said, talked about earlier. She talked about many more. So, if you look at this, you'll see it has touched so many parts of the society. And I'm going to stop here a little bit.
Thank you, Nagaraj. So you can see the mission pledge to this tree where the social impact has been there. Let's go back to the life of Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda. Most of us also know the part of his life where he was a freedom fighter. It was an era where the British colonial empire was existing, and Mahatma Gandhi at that time became very popular in his work in South Africa. And then he came to India, and his political guru, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, advised him, wait. You've done it in South Africa, good. But India is different. First, travel India to understand India. You will come to know how to work with the Britishers in India. Of course, he had studied abroad in London, everything we know. Now, what interestingly happens, Gandhiji travels to India before he becomes the father of the nation. And he had a very interesting research conclusion. We are all scholars, right? This methodology was field visits. And he says in one line, India lives in villages. So the India that we see of Chinmaya mission in the urban places like Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, too, many of them abroad also, Melbourne to New York, is a major part of Chinmaya mission. But many times, being a Mumbaikar, I say we don't even have an understanding of the impact Chinmaya mission has made in the rural areas. If you have seen the previous video when Amma was presenting, there was one small picture of Dr. Kshama Maitre getting Padma Shri for her work in rural India through Chinmaya mission's organization called as CORD. So I have this question. We have representation from CORD. So Priya ji, my question is that lot of NGOs are working across the globe for rural development, and that's a part of social development. But what makes CORD a distinctive model of spiritually inspired rural development, not just rural development and giving the primary health care and the basic ones by the government? How do you think it is spiritually different?
Thank you, Radhakrishnan ji, for that nice question. Actually, I have a long answer prepared, but I will not bore you because I have some visuals with me. If the panel would oblige, I will stand at the podium so my hands can be free. Hari Om, am I audible? Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. My most humble pranams to Shri Guru Parampara, Pujya Swamins and Brahmacharins, to the revered panelists and guests on the stage and off the stage, the diligent organizers, and the incredible audience of educators, change makers, influencers, and nation builders of Bharat. Today, as we celebrate Chinmaya Amrit Mahotsav, I am very pleased and proud to present Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development, CORD, which has blossomed from the spiritual wisdom of Pujya Gurudev and is being continuously nurtured and nourished with the love and compassion and grace of Guru Parampara, and stands as a distinctive model of spiritually inspired empowerment model. Well, if you ask me to state it very simply, what is CORD for you? I would say CORD is an expression of Gurudev's unbound, uninhibited, unconditional love unleashed on the humble and meek of rural Bharat. Gurudev's teaching is always so practical, relevant, and very personal, isn't it? He has imparted to us very strongly that any change, if it's true, can start only from within and begin with oneself. And when it is genuine, it cannot be contained. The transformed subject, oneself, becomes a helpless change agent, bringing about community evolution and renaissance as a very natural cascading effect. We see this fundamental teaching of Pujya Gurudev so powerfully demonstrated through CORD on the rural fabric of Bharat. For decades, and to a great extent even now, rural development and social service, these two terms have come to resonate synonymously with charity, welfare, distribution of aids, doling out freebies, distribution of relief, material resources, and even giving money. Instead of propelling the people and the community forward, it just leaves them behind, depriving them of their own self-dignity, and keeps them in the cycle of dependency and expectation, does it not? We just now witnessed the drama of elections, state elections unfold. One political party says, I will give 100 units of electricity free. Another says 200 units free. One says, I will pay 1,000 rupees every month to a stay-at-home mom. Another completes, I will give 2,000, 2,500, 5,000, and it goes on. I remember myself, my own experience as I walked the streets of the villages 12 years ago. The innocent people would just crowd me because I would be in white sari, and they would presume I'm either a politician or a doctor, and come to me and ask, what will you give? What will you give us? What can we get from you? From that sad and stagnant state of affairs, Gurudev's boon of God became a blessing to the society because it is spiritually inspired and focusing on the inner growth and capacity building. Gurudev used to roar, "I'm no mule guru." Each one has to walk the path by oneself. So too, COD as an NGO does not play the role of a savior. It rather plays the role of a facilitator, facilitating the journey to self-discovery, helping them harness the inner potential in the individual and also as a collective. That's how we bring forth sustainable self-reliance. Gurudev has also showed us through example, and he has given us the examples of Bhagwan Shri Krishna and Shri Rama, how when they wanted to help someone, they befriended them. Did they not? Shri Krishna became friends with the gopis and the gopas and Sudama and also Arjuna. And Bhagwan Shri Rama, he partnered with Vibhishana and Sugriva. So also Gurudev wanted Chinmaya mission, COD, his sevaks, to partner with the community, take them along as partners and friends and change agents. Yajna spirit, we've explored this enough, and we know how fond Gurudev is of this term, Yajna, which he has beautifully adopted from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Shri Krishna's Gita. And he reinterpreted it so beautifully from its literal meaning of ritualistic fire to mean something more profound and philosophical. He said, Yajna is to be defined as any social, communal or personal activity where one pours forth oneself fully in a spirit of self-sacrifice, dedication and service. And the inflection point occurs only when the individuals contribute actively and selflessly towards the collective welfare. And he demonstrated this himself. These are his words. The people of the Himalayas, especially women, have selflessly served the wandering sadhus. This will be our repayment of Rishi Rina, debt to them. I want to serve them. Can we imagine a guru, a rishi himself, like Pujya Gurudev, saying these words that I want to repay my debt to the rishis. I want to serve them. This is how he demonstrated to us that the spirit of service should come from a sense of fulfillment, from a sense of gratitude, and from sense of duty. And what thus started as a very simple, humble, isolated health program for the maternal and infant health care in Siddhabari in 1985 soon progressed into and evolved into this comprehensive integrated rural development program, because the community health workers moving amidst the community, they discovered that health is not an isolated issue. People in the community face multi-pronged, multifaceted, intersectorial issues. So the solution has to be also multi-pronged. Thus evolved from the community a community-driven, bottom-up approach of panchayat-based comprehensive development, which addressed all of this comprehensively: poverty, local self-governance, social justice, community health, environment, disability inclusion, and much more. From the seed of Yajna sprung these 4 pillars of COD. PISNA we call: participation, integration, sustainability and networking. Participation is where we shift the people from passive beneficiaries to active contributing partners. And integration is where so many of the other NGOs and governments also deal with in an isolated way, either with health or just with women or with children or differently abled, whereas we look at it in a very holistic, comprehensive, sattvic way through integration. And sustainability, here's where through constant mentoring, education, counseling and guidance, we build the local leaders, women leaders, village volunteer resource persons, and even Gram Panchayat leaders who will take the Panchayat forward. Networking is the fourth pillar, which bridges the gap between the communities, the government, and also various institutions. This is how we organically CORD evolves. First, when we walk in, the community is so fragmented and unorganized. The first thing we do is to unify them into groups, collectives of women, and then through the women, we get to the children. We form Balvihars, the youth groups, the adolescent girl groups, the differently abled groups called the Chinmaya Umang, and for those who are spiritually inclined, the Devi groups, and the farmer groups or the Purush club for the farmers, and so on. And once these collectives are formed through their monthly meetings, using that as a forum and platform, we build their awareness, sensitize them. We walk the path with them and gently guide them, open their eyes to the issues that are relevant. We ask them pertinent questions like, the government school that you have does not have a toilet and your adolescent girls are dropping out after puberty. Don't you think this is an issue that you can work on? Are you okay with your youth taking to ganja and drugs, which is sold by the petty shop right next to your public school? Is there something you can do about it? The buses are not coming on time, which is putting everybody, it's causing so much discomfort and inconvenience. Is there something we can do about it? So gently goading them to do something about their own individual development as well as the panchayat need and development, gently guiding. Some of them who become participants and active contributors, become leaders and sevaks who actualize these changes and transformations. That's how this loop is complete. First, CORD walks in as a sevak, and then the person who is empowered becomes the sevak. The sevak becomes the sevak. There are so many examples, but I will quote one example of Srimati Brinda Devi, who is one of the foremost of community development workers who joined CORD way back in 1986. But when she started, she herself was a victim of domestic violence. Her drunk husband would come home and beat her and her 4 children. And he went to the extent of even selling her for booze. That's when she ran out of the house with her 4 children, of which one of them was a 26-day-old infant. And she confined herself to a tiny, dingy room, struggling, suffocating, petrified, even to make one meal for her starving children. That's how CORD discovered her, petrified and malnourished, and took her in as a community development health worker, trained her in various things. Apart from employment, they also taught her sewing so she can start her own enterprise. She joined the self-help group and access to microcredit was possible. With so much counseling and guidance from CORD, she slowly developed, regained her confidence and self-esteem. She stood for local election and without spending a penny against the rich influential contestants, she won to become the Gram Panchayat leader. This claps is for all the Urmilas and Purnimas and Velumatis of Odisha and Srivani and Tiruvallur, Jharkhand. There are so many of them. And that doesn't stop there. Srimati Urmila Devi, in a conference like this, which was meant for Dr. Kshama Didi, and she could not make it. And in her place, Urmila Didi went and explained to a hall full of government officials and bankers what CORD was. That's the kind of transformation we are looking at. And if you say, no, this kind of domestic violence and gender discrimination does not happen anymore. It was in 1986, 4 decades ago. No, sorry, I can show you 10 Urmilas in the tiny village where I stay, where I come from. Recently, I lost 2 of my most powerful, very good team workers because their husbands could not stand that their wives were empowered and standing up for them and talking against and questioning the males' behavior and conduct. That's how it is, the society. Even though government is progressive, we say the women are progressive, education has come a long way, we still have to work a lot. So this is about individual transformation. What about collectives? When they come together, they are a force to be reckoned. And what they cannot achieve, nothing short of miracles. Look at this, women organizing large community events, including, budgeting and putting big pandals and organizing big programs, inviting the collector to their functions and things like that, holding the mic and speaking like Bharadiyar kanda Pudumai pen, I can say. And young mothers coming forward to educate the children through Balvihas and tuition centers, villages demanding vital infrastructures, differently abled advocating for their rights, communities collectively building and consecrating temples. And we will see just a couple of examples because of lack of time. This group here that you see are villagers from a small village panchayat called Peritivakam in Thiruvallur. Because of political agencies which were trying to annex this village panchayat to a nearby adjacent town panchayat. And when we sensitized the women, the people, saying you would lose out on your entitlements and benefits if that happens, they rose up to the challenge, gathered all the adults, the community people, young and old, men and women, in tractors, lorries, and rallied and rioted in front of the block office, the collector office still, and they made sure their village panchayat remained a village panchayat. That brought to them a lot of entitlements and benefits. Not just that, I can quote so many examples where they have shut down alcohol shops, where they have got people arrested for selling ganja, where they have brought buses to their remote villages, where they have brought the reconstruction and repair of schools and temples. So many examples. That's why I'm here to invite you to come to wherever God is, you can go, because we are in a lot of places now. This is where in a simple scheduled caste village hamlet where they did not have their own village temple and they were even deprived of the privilege of entering some other temples, they stood up and collected lakhs of money, themselves also sponsoring some part, and got a temple, their own Perumal temple consecrated, and their names are now inscribed outside the temple walls. Chinmaya Annapurni, Chinmaya Draupadi, Chinmaya Maglirkuru, Chinmaya Samudrika is inscribed outside their temples. Even the most vulnerable, like the differently abled, are able to achieve so many things. Mahinder Singh, he has participated in International Olympics and for knitting and has won in Japan. This is Vishnu Priya, who was considered as an outcast because she cannot use her right hand and she has to use all left hand for everything, and the society outcast her. And with 2 children, she was very afraid, and that's when God discovered her and gave her all her entitlements and benefits. And then now she is the leader of a Mahila Mandal and also a differently abled group, where in her group, all 12 members, she has ensured they've got disability IDs, pensions, and all of them are entrepreneurs living a dignified life by themselves. Very self-reliant. Someone sells milk, someone sells fish, someone sells petty shop, someone has different shop, so on and so forth. This I want to highlight as Gurudev has brought to us the simple analogy of wall. A wall is only strong as its individuals. If the bricks are crumbling, the wall will collapse regardless of how much paint you apply to the surface. Similarly, external fixing of the world is futile without internal refinement. True to this is how God works with the community, step by step, starting from Mahila Mandals, working with the youth and the adolescents and forming their groups. And once the groups are formed, the first thing we do is towards their economic stability, making them access microcredit, and then giving them some training in farm-based sector or non-farm sector. Once their economic resilience is attained, then we open their eyes to the most vulnerable in the society. Are you including the widows, the single, the differently abled and their families? Take them also into your fold. And after that, we focus on the basic things like the health, nutrition, and sanitation. So we see once first the community is unified, right? Then their economic stability is ensured through self-help groups and vocational trainings in farm sector, non-farm sector. Then their basic community health, nutrition is satisfied, and they are made to look and include the marginal in the neighborhood, include the differently abled and so on. And after that, the panchayat, what are your panchayat problems? What are your panchayat needs? Talk, write petitions, file petitions, and become members of school management committee, disaster management committee, become, stand for elections and become panchayat leaders who can bring about the change. So when their panchayat's needs are also satisfied, then we slowly unfold them to think about the environment, involve them in natural farming, jal, jeevan, jungle, all of that can be taken care through participatory natural rural resource management. And all this is done through experiential training, self-leadership, and spiritual development. I can show you now the women are conducting Hanuman Chalisa Havans themselves. There are so many of our children in Balvihar who can chant the Gita Panchamrit. Can you believe it? All the village children chanting in Sanskrit. The children and the women and their parents are so thrilled to do this. And yesterday for Gurudev's 110th Jayanti, so many celebrations. They've even bought cakes. Happy birthday, Gurudev, 110th birthday, and cut the cakes. I've put it on my status, things like that. So much love and devotion. They all, in every Balvihar and every Mahila Mandal meeting that happens monthly, all throughout India, Gurudev's altar is kept and he is worshipped. And it starts with the prayer, Om Shri Chinmaya Guruve Potri, or Om Shri Chinmaya Sadguruve Namaha. They know Guru Stotram 3 slokas, and some of them even the pledge and the arati in their own languages. That's how connected, that's how grateful the community is for the kind of development we give. I have some more slides, but if we have time at the end, I will come to it. Now I will stop.
You know, it's not about presentation. I remember as a group of Yuva Kendra members, we were sitting with Guruji. And he was explaining about the concept of seva. And he told you cannot translate that into English only as service. And he gave a beautiful Hindi definition. He said, when you do seva, it should not be from the attitude of, kripa. I'm doing something, deen bhav. Deen bhav ya daya bhav nahi hona chahiye, purna bhav hona chahiye. It should come out of fulfillment. So this can be full and endless also. But thank you, Priya ji. Yesterday when I met Megh ji, the first question I had is in everybody's mind. How many people tell you look like Shashi Tharoor? And his answer was, I have lost a count. So, and Megh ji was very clear. Let everybody speak. Even now he told Priya ji, you continue. Because he likes to analyze. He's a researcher. He's a thinker. So the question to you, Megh ji, is something beyond Shashi Tharoor. So how do you look at this particular model? Gurudev never wanted it to be a cult. Chinmaya Mission should never be like a cult. But how do you look at this being different? A kind of an activity we do here, social activity, from charity, ideology and other social movements in your own understanding.
Hari Om. Saraswati Namastubhyam Vadade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Purana Nyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastranga Mishritaha Vedaha Sthanani Vidyanam Dharmasya Cha Chaturdasha Ayurvedo Dhanurvedo Gandharvas Tetrayaha Arthashastram Chaturthantu Vidyaha Ashtadashayvataha Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Before I get to the question directly, I am more convinced about having multiple janmas today. And you may wonder why. Because I'm really struggling to understand what punya karmas in this janma could have given me this opportunity to reflect on Swami Chinmayananda ji's contributions. So I'm very, very humbled and grateful more for an opportunity to really learn and engage with such a divine and loving community. I didn't go to a Balavihar, or I didn't have Swami Chinmayananda's grace in my life through any of the direct channels, multiple of which we saw today. But I guess I got a very condensed and very good version in the last few days. So I'm most grateful to everybody who made this possible. Now, to the question that was posed, which is how is it different to social service, how does it differ from charity-based or ideology-driven social movements? I think Swami Chinmayananda's approach to social service, in my view, stood apart from both conventional charity and ideological-driven activism because I think he located the root problem at a much deeper level. What do I mean by that? I think many charities might ask the question, who needs the help, how much help is needed, and how do we deliver it? Nothing wrong with it. Ideological movements typically ask, what is wrong with the system and how do we change it? Again, like I said, these questions are valid and they have their own place. But in my understanding, I think Pujya Gurudev asked a more fundamental question, which is, what is wrong with the human existence, right? And how can we transfer her or him? And in that process, address the society at large. I think that is a very fundamentally different question to ask to be able to solve societal problems. I think he also taught that corruption, exploitation, and injustice, etc., are not merely structural failures. They are outward expressions of inner disorder first. Greed, ego, fear, and above all, ignorance or avidya. If the individual remains inwardly unchanged, the same dysfunction will reappear in new forms, no matter how well the external system is redesigned. In engineering, in science, etc., we would also call this first principles thinking, right? Getting to the root cause of what the ailment is. This did not make him indifferent to institutions or material suffering, hardly. We saw tremendous examples of quite the opposite. I think the Chinmaya mission has run schools, hospitals, rural development projects, and disaster relief for decades. Yet he consistently maintained that the lasting social health is impossible without inwardly disciplined individuals. Better people naturally create healthier families, stronger communities, and more ethical institutions, and I think in that order. That is why, in my understanding, I think he reframed Karma Yoga, rooted in Advaita, as a solution for our contemporary scenarios. Service is not merely an act of helping others, which you briefly alluded to right now. It is a discipline that transforms the one who serves as well, right? And in ordinary charity, the divide between the giver and receiver often remains, like you also alluded to, sometimes quietly feeding the giver's ego. In Gurudev's vision, one serves from the recognition that the same Atman, the same self, exists in both the server and the served. You serve because you increasingly see yourself also in the other, a living sense of oneness. This shifts, I think, the entire psychology of service, right? Its motivation, its sustainability, and its purity. Unlike movements that draw energy from opposition or anger, I think his approach drew energy from inner maturity and self-mastery. The goal never seemed to me, at least, to be of ideological victory. It was an expansion of consciousness and an understanding of that consciousness. He was also, I think, acutely aware of the institutional trap. Organizations tend to become self-perpetuating, more focused on survival and prestige than on the original purpose. That is why he seems to have constantly emphasized Vyakti Nirmana, right? Character building as the true foundation of societal renewal. In essence, Pujya Gurudev offered a spiritually intelligent model of action, one that seamlessly integrates inner transformation and outer service. He showed us that the most effective way to serve society is to help human beings rediscover their higher nature. You very correctly alluded to the fish, not giving fish, but actually teaching how to, right? Because a society of integrated, awakened individuals needs far less fixing from the outside. The action is happening from inside. That, I believe, in what little I have understood, to be, if not his most enduring and urgent message for all of us in these times and for the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megh ji. In fact, you mentioned a very important word, maturity. I remember Gurudev was addressing the youth in a college, and he himself was a revolutionary, freedom fighter. And he told them, move from revolution to evolution. So in the initial stages, youth are very active, and as you said, it's all about anger. Social transformation is, the society is bad, I need to change, youth leadership. But maturity is not about revolution, it's about evolution. So can the society evolve to the next level? What a great spiritual concept in social transformation. I will come back to you, sir. Sir, if you look at the overall spiritual vision that Gurudev had and social vision, you see today modern sociologists, social scientists talk about concepts and issues like dignity, self-reliance, empowerment. Where do you see Gurudev's dimension and input into this?
Thank you. I think that Priya ji presented the 4 pillars of core. The first one is participate. So, Gurudev didn't think about charity as giving and taking, right? It's like participate. So, the role of giving and taking is actually what makes it an unequal relationship. Participate makes it an equal relationship. So this is just a very minor change of the way it is going. Because what is happening is giving is happening. We are both participating in it. The one who is taking as well as the one who is giving is participating in that giving relationship. So it is like so, there's, what is it called? The doer, doing, and, the subject, object, and the verb. He is just using, the Vedanta is infused into this idea of the word participate. So immediately when you are participating, there is no ego to be had, right? And no putting down. So your behavior will reflect that you, the person who is receiving, will not feel bad for receiving the dana. Like that. I think there is someone who was speaking yesterday. I think today Ganti ji was talking about it. Dana in the Indian tradition, it's not thought of as charity. It is thought of as duty. It's my duty to give. So if that other person being hungry is a favor he is doing to me so that I can give it to him. So it's completely a reverse way of thinking. And that is the kind of thing he is doing. I wanted to just tell you that, people actually have been looking at this, some of the work that mission has been doing very formally in the formal social work way. That is why when you mentioned the social science, people have been looking at. So the second paper, Shamaji is an author there, second one. So it appeared very recently in this Annals of Global Health. It actually looks at this model, the 4-pillar model of CORD, and that case study in the social science context. They're doing a very formal analysis of it. The first paper actually looks at all the Pitamaha Sadhans, mission Pitamaha Sadhans in India, and compares the happiness and the spirituality, etc., of the residents of the Pitamaha Sadhans run by Chinmaya Mission, compares it to the same people or similar context people run by the secular organizations. And not a small sample size. There are 554 people surveyed from the Pitamaha Sadhans and around 450 people surveyed from the secular organizations, and comparing. And concludes very formally that the Pitamaha Sadhan residents are actually happier, they are more spiritual, they are more comfortable with their aging, as explained in Guruji's book on aging gracefully. So I think this is being done. But not enough of this is happening. I think we are not getting this kind of exposure for our work. Even on CORD, not enough papers are being written. That is actually is necessary to be recognized around the world. I think CORD model is a model for social work organizations that should be repeated everywhere. Right. The idea of participate instead of charity should become a global standard for giving, not just for us. I think this is important. So I have a small request. If you are aware of any paper that is published on mission work in a peer-reviewed journal, send me a WhatsApp or email. I'll collect them and send it to CCMT for them to put it in a Manam series.
Thank you, sir. In Hindi we call this as Vidwanon ki Sabha, a collection and a gathering of scholars. And in the academic world it is said, first you write a research paper. I was also happy to chair a research presentation of many scholars here. But there's a saying, you start by writing a research paper and later on, somebody cites you in their research paper. So I think this citation is very important. Megh, what do you think that can this be actually a model? By the way, for information, DAV schools is the largest collection of schools in the world, 900 schools. So can we look at this as a model of social transformation that we can use in the academic world also? Your inputs.
Can Swami Chinmayanandaji's societal initiatives be studied as an Indic model of integral human development? Right? That was the question that I received. And I think this is a very easy answer to give. I think it is obviously yes. There are many reasons, but let me cite a few. When we generally think of integral human development in academic discourse, we usually trace the idea back to Catholic social teaching, especially Pope Paul IV's Populorum Progressio, or to the capabilities framework associated with Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum. While these are important contributions in their own right, yet even Sen's framework stops short of treating consciousness itself as a central development category. And I think this is a unique contribution of Pujya Gurudev Swamiji's model of how to start looking at integral human development. He argued that genuine human development cannot be confined to material welfare, institutional access, or intellectual capability alone, right? These are necessary, important, but are they sufficient? Perhaps not. It must also address the condition of the inner instrument, right? The mind, the intellect, and the ego. Because the inner condition inevitably shapes the outer order. Unexamined greed corrupts institutions, unresolved fear distorts policy. Inner discord repeatedly reproduces outer discord. And when you start the inner part of it, when you start from the inner and fix it, the rest automatically get addressed. So that is one way to look at why it is an Indic model of integral human development. The other, I think, is purely from, we saw there were multiple presentations starting from Garbha Samskara right until Vanaprastha. All age groups are primarily addressed by now, by Chinmaya Mission. Now that is a remarkable achievement which many corporates, very well-funded corporates would struggle to cater to this age group of, this range of age people. So I think it is integral in many ways. It is not just in its pedagogy and methodology, but also when you look at society at large, it takes a very integral view saying nobody should be left out. Let us address as much as we can. So the word maximum, I think, has been maximally delivered by Swami Chinmayanandaji. Namaste.
Maximum happiness for maximum people. Thank you so much. So let's listen to Priya ji, one case study or example in CORD.
Hari Om. I think I've mentioned quite a few achievements, individual transformative stories and collective achievements also. So I would like to use these couple of minutes to highlight the credibility of our institution, how it has been recognized nationally and internationally. for the various service programs that have been happening over more than 4 decades now. The Community-Based Inclusion and Development Program is considered one of the best nationally. It has received 4 national awards so far, including one in 2017 from the President of India. I'm so proud to say that we were among the policy-making committee when the Rights to Persons with Disability Act came into force in 2016. So that's quite an achievement. As well as for the most innovative development program, the Global Development Network in Japan gave us the first prize for an innovation program that involved the empowerment of more than 6,000 women farmers in farm and allied sectors in entrepreneurship and stable, sustainable livelihoods. It lasted for more than 2 years and we won the first prize. These are some of the accolades, and of course our founder, trustee and National Director Dr. Kshama Maitre. She has been recognized with Padma Shri Award in 2008. So many accolades are there. Just a few have been mentioned. All the applause that you have given today and all those actually go to her and her team and her leadership. Really, she deserves an applause. And right now, through this CORD program, we are reaching out to more than 8 lakh beneficiaries from 260 panchayats, 1,260 villages in 10 states. But we still have a lot more to reach. Those are some of the numbers. To close to 1 lakh women members, 14,000 farmers, 20,000 skilled persons, and 485 Balvihar groups, and more than 4,000 differently abled people. And our family just keeps growing. And we are a foundation of institutional trust with more than 100 people as experts in these various thematic programs under CORD. We are also registered under ATG and FCRA. We have officially CSR registration and also vetted by top tier firms for grants like HCL, Pentagon, Charitable Trust, Bajaj, LTTS and so on. Now the call for action. We open our arms and hearts to all of you to spread the word and try to join this movement of transformation by trying to learn and implement and take this transformative approach, this panchayat-based comprehensive integrated rural development model to every state and every village in India. Because village is where our ancestors' names are remembered. It is the kitchen of our Bharat. It is the childhood memories of Bharat. So I take this opportunity to invite you all to join this movement. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Now you know where your charity goes. All the bank details will be sent to you. So before we wind up the final closing remarks, I would request, sir, you had to speak for a minute.
I think first of all, I think we should do a really loud round of applause for the phenomenal work that CORD is doing. These numbers are staggering. I had no idea. It's quite amazing. Great work, man. Thank you. Just 2 very quick points. While I answered the questions which were given to me to the extent that I could dutifully, there was one point which I think genuinely struck me as being fairly unique about Swami Chinmayananda's perspective, which I think is very relevant to today's society. And in fact, there is an article in the Brill's Encyclopedia of Hinduism on Chinmaya Mission and Swami Chinmayananda, and it's not all positive. Let me also mention that. I have actually written a paper critiquing some aspects of it. But even in that article, there is one data point which he mentions, and I would like to read that out. And I think that is truly unique, insofar as I have seen at least. So, this is an excerpt I quote. In his talks in the West, Swami Chinmayananda promoted the idea that all truth is one and that Christians were not to become Hindus, but by study of Hindu philosophy, they would become better Christians and their own personal relationship with Christ and his teachings would deepen.
Wow.
I think this is what I would call non-proselytizing liberality. If at all there was a liberal thought, can there be a more liberal thought than this? Right? It is absolutely non-proselytizing, and I think this is this seems quite understated in how, especially in our society, given we have multiple faiths coexisting more or less peacefully most times, to have this kind of an orientation where you say, you don't need to change, you just become a better version of you, and Vedanta is in service of that. I think that's something that I would wear proudly as, a Hindu. Here is a Hindu giant who is demonstrating, I think, the very best perhaps of our outlook to the society. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's an honor. So let's give a big hand of applause. I'm sorry I have to play the devil's man right now because of time limits. But the last call to action as we are winding up and we have to go for the next program also. Remember, as the Gen Z calls it, the call to action. Your next visit should be at court. Carry your checks along. Thank you so much. Hari Om.